Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of the Brummie Boys show with myself, Boffers, and Connor Mez. A big chill in here. Connor's obviously rocking the signature vest and cap combo to show off his massive arms and his clapped hairline.
But no, that's why the hat's covered, bro.
Exactly. We've got a few things to cover today. Not too many, of course. We're going to keep this one light and breezy, as it is. Kind of keep it without much of a massive theme. We're just going to meander through a couple of the topics and make our way over it. Just got a few things that we had over the course of the last couple of weeks that we wanted to address on a podcast or a show, which is the perfect reason for this show to exist. It is the Brummie Boys show, the show at which we basically go over all the controversial and happening topics within the week of the Call of Duty amateur scene, or just the amateur esports scene as a whole, and we talk about them, give our opinion, hot takes, all that kind of stuff. And in future, hopefully get other sides of the stories, have guests on to talk about certain specific topics, etc. So, of course, if you want to drop a follow on the channel for the Beyond the Call Twitch, it will be later uploaded to our YouTube channel, which you can find by typing in Beyond the Call on YouTube. The VOD for the last 2K show is already uploaded. It was uploaded today. I'll make sure to tweet about that one later. And, of course, at BTC_COD on Twitter. Our ats are on the screen, so you don't need to know where to find us. Right. Let's go. Let's get started into this one.
So just said, God, Connor is fit.
Oh, I love that. Good hype in the chat. I suppose we can. I suppose with Jamie in the chat, it's probably a good time to talk about one of the topics I wanted to talk about this week, which is the oversaturation of podcasts. Now, this is a discussion that happened earlier in the week. We'll name names, of course, because we're not afraid to.
We got balls deep in that conversation, so we have to.
We really did. Myself and Connor earlier in the week did get very involved in a particular debacle on Twitter with a bunch of people discussing content. More specifically, the content of podcasts and shows, much similar to the one that we're doing right now. It was the owner of No Identity, I think, who sparked the conversation, Joseph. He said something along the lines of podcasts are all the same at the moment. They're very oversaturated. Not oversaturated, but they're all just boring, right? I don't know why people keep doing it. It's like shit content, right? And we kind of got balls deep into it. I can't find the thread now. I think Joseph deleted a lot of the tweets, and
But he done it off a separate account. So
did he?
It wasn't off his. It wasn't off his owner's account. He done it off his. I think I'm not sure what account it was, but he done it off an account the same name as him anyway. But
I think he just changed the at, to be honest. I think because he's been changing his at a lot recently.
He deleted all the tweets anyway. What we was arguing about, but so
I wouldn't necessarily even say we were arguing, but I do want to step this. I do want to step this one up. Obviously, we have a bit of in the AM scene at the moment. We have a little bit of an oversaturation. I will admit that there is an oversaturation of podcasts. There's an oversaturation of shows. You got pushing media. You got what we do here at Beyond the Call. You got the COD Pod. I'm missing one. There's one in my head that I'm missing. EEG has just started one. And then there's obviously other organisations who do shows themselves. For example, I've had a lot of rustlings that University were going to do Under the Radar again.
Fames and RT on top wanted one.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I messaged him about it. He tweeted out that I think Fames, he's in the chat now, shout out to you, bro. He wanted to do a podcast of basically the start of RT on top and the come up, obviously.
Right, okay. So
I'm not sure if that's going to go ahead, but just still.
Yeah, so I wanted to get your take, obviously. We were just rehashing what we said on Twitter, really. But what do you think with regards to content and sort of like podcasts and stuff? Because I know that like for people like EEG, like it's fair. Like they want content, but they're running a league. So for example, we're running an independent content studio, which is much the same as to what OG COD are doing.
I think everybody thinks this is run by somebody that's not us, you know.
Yeah, really.
I don't know. I got the intake of a couple of people when the spoke about just like, oh, it's sick what you guys are doing over there with the work. But I get the sort of vibe that they're being like, for just the work you're doing, as in like, so when someone comes into casting, you'd be like, oh yeah, you're doing sick work at EG, or you're doing sick work at VAL or EAL, blah blah blah. They say, oh, you're doing sick work at BTC. I'm not sure if they actually think that we're working with someone. But this is for ourselves, so
this is a completely independent outlet. There's four divisional equity share, which is self, Chris, Brody, and Connor. And we try and do something here which is different. And I think this is the essence of what Joseph was getting at, but it did seem to rub a few people up the wrong way. I think it definitely rubbed Kai up the wrong way, Shep.
It rubbed me up the wrong way. I think what he said wasn't wrong. I think it's the way he worded it. And even on the previous Pushing Media podcast, he said that sometimes he has trouble wording stuff, which is fair enough. But if you're going to make a tweet onto that level about podcasts, what a lot of people are doing now, you have to be careful how you word in that, because a lot of people are going to buy it back, and they did. So I think the way he worded it, it was a bit shit. And I think that's why even I bounced back at it, because it was like, you can't just say that, okay. I think the way he worded it is in everyone's doing podcasts now. It's not different. it's all boring, etc. Like you can't say that because if you when he come on, like we invited him to the podcast, he was on there straight away. Do you know what I mean? So
We've
he wants to
invited
go
him
on
on this show
podcast
before
himself.
as well.
Yeah, he said no to it obviously, but that was for reasons that he didn't want to discuss any further. So we're not going to disclaim that obviously, but I think to say like they're all boring and shit is just off because they're all different. To be honest, I
Yeah,
see it's
well,
different. Like we have a safe haven of content here. I think at the moment out of podcast, not because it's our own. I think at the moment we do the most in terms of shows.
yeah. In terms of volume of shows, and I think also what we aim to do here, which is what I find that a lot of people really fail to do this. Like I understand that pushing, I'm going to call it out. This is the way I see it. Pushing media is in effect just a rehash of the 1v1 because it is a 1 versus 1 interview. I know you're associated with it, so you can't really talk too hard about it. I do appreciate the concept being there. I think it's a really good show in terms of actually having that around for people to talk about, for people to talk on, to discuss their side of different stories, etc., with your truth series and the concept of the show itself.
I'm not sure that's a thing anymore.
However, I do just think it's a rehash of the 1v1. It's pretty much the same format. You're talking to someone about a specific topic, generally about their own career or something that they've experienced, and then it's just a one-on-one situation. So I think you're not seeing much originality from different podcasts and stuff at the moment, which I think is the essence of what Joseph was getting at. But again, like you say, poorly worded. I don't see much in the way of what separates a lot of these podcasts apart. I see like Fame's doing that one about the owners stuff. Like you got to find a niche for a podcast. Let's be real. The number of people who actually give a shit about how Auntie on Top started is very, very low. But if there's a niche for it, if people are demanding it, then by all means do it. But then again, you run out of content for what you can talk about on that show really fast because that's a historical thing. You can only talk about so much to do with it.
Like I think the one thing about the podcast was what Joseph done and how he worded it again. I thought it was a bit of a knock, but you can't knock someone for trying something. You know what I mean? You just can't, like, because someone could do a podcast tomorrow. And it's the same as EGs or the same as Pushing Minis or the same as us. Someone could start a 2K show and it pops more than us. Do you know what I mean? Like anything can happen. So I think the way it was worded, it was knocking it a bit as well to certain people. But it was just like, but even when I said to him, like, I went into his DMs and I'll discuss this. I said, if you're gonna do this, please at people like. Don't just say it like a coward. Like if there's an issue or you see a podcast that you think is shit or the same, give positive feedback. You ain't got to go into
any kind of constructive feedback.
You ain't got to go into a negative mode. Like people will tell me, even when I first started out, you and Brody as well told me where I was going wrong in casting, not in a positive way because you had to tell me in that way. Do you know what I mean? You can only learn from that stuff, and
it's not enough.
If you're just gonna tweet stuff like that, don't tweet it because it's just stupid. Like you need to say specifically who, and obviously give constructive feedback because that's the only way it's going to help instead of just knocking it. Because a month down the line, someone could come to him with a brilliant podcast idea and he jumps on it, and then what? He's just destroyed himself.
No, it is true. It is true, and I think the issue with podcasts at the moment is I do agree that when people are starting up shows, it almost does feel like people are starting stuff up for the sake of starting it up. Podcasts, at the end of the day, are literally the easiest form of content for anyone to push out. All it requires is a webcam, OBS, and another person to get on the stream. So that's all it is, right? That's all you require for a podcast to come out. And for organizations, for tournament organizers like EEG, for people like ourselves, it's obviously just really easy content. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting my microphone. But in a sense, to try and make that content original is very difficult, which is what we aim to do here by discussing difficult topics on the Brummie Boys. Obviously, having the 2K show centered around the theme of the 2K. Obviously, having the Beyond the Cool show centered around the theme of amateur Call of Duty events. We'll be discussing Minnesota. We'll be discussing what happens after Minnesota, the EG playoffs, etc.
Even online seasons and stuff as well. Like
that's the whole point of that podcast. I think what a lot of podcasts these days fail to do is really have a direction, have a niche for what they actually want, what they want their show to be. And we've spoken to the COD Pod guys about this before. When their show first came out, it is literally just get a guest on, talk to them about it, and then divulge into the topic.
Yeah.
It's very, very ambiguous as to what your objective is there. So I think if you want to run a podcast, do it. And this is exactly what I said to Joseph when he made that tweet. I said, if you want to run a show, do so. Find a niche, make it different to every other show. And then in that case, even if there's like 1,000 podcasts out there, the good ones will naturally rise to the top because they've got something that sets them apart. The same thing is true for esports orgs at the moment. There are 100 different orgs doing the exact same fucking thing, and none of them will ever succeed. Yeah, giveaways, stream teams, COD team, FIFA, CSGO team, who are only British for some reason. Like, it just does my head in. The one thing I will say on that, actually, on that note, is I do want to have a quick hot take on stream teams while we're on the whole like content. Stream teams are pathetic. They are such a waste of time.
Yeah. Wait, we argued this with someone as
We
well, didn't we?
argued this as well. Like,
When did we
Jesus
argue this with?
Christ. I can't even
We need to
remember.
stop arguing.
I can't even remember who this was, but stream teams are a waste of fucking.
Yeah.
All you're doing is you're trying to profit off of the streamer if you're the organization, use them for a little bit of clout, and the streamer is trying to do the exact same thing for you. It's not beneficial.
Analytics, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's
That's
all
what it is,
analytics, and it's all so that the organization can sell your hours worth of streaming to sponsors. That's it.
I think I argued the best fact that the only people I see doing it correctly now is Buzzkill, i.e., having very top end streamers, but very a low number of them. So, like, for example, D Treats, Buzzkill, when they first signed him, like they sent him out a hoodie, etc.
Yeah.
Game of Focus when it was a thing, rest in peace, and all that stuff like that. That supporting is what the support you need there for a streamer, not just, oh, I'll give you a retweet, I'll give you a quote tweet, say, go live now, he's playing Fortnite, woohoo. Like, it's just, there's no point in it. But me and you have been accustomed to it ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we've been there and we've done it. So
we've been guilty of it.
that's what I mean. We can't. We've been guilty of it. So,
and I think that's why it gives me perspective on why it's a bad thing. Like, I've done it, and I've gone like, I got nothing from this, and streamer. Like, you look back.
Read out what Fame said. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read it out. RT wanted to have it from way back, just having a etc. to back then. Not 100% now, but been in the works for a while, and so many podcasts around now didn't want to go 100% with it. I'm not worried if people wanted to view it, or not if I would do it. I love to do it. A lot of people watch it. That's a bonus. Hard to explain. I understand that.
See, that's the thing. If you're not trying to gain nothing off it, then perfect. Do a podcast, because
Someone
further
will
down the
watch
line, yeah, and even further down the line, say if RT do get big, and for your sake, I hope they do, honestly, because you do put in good work. Like, if that gets big, people will then go back to see that, and instead of doing it all again, you have it there originally from the start, and it shows your work ethic from the start. So stuff like that is good. But a lot of podcasts these days that aren't just doing that for that everybody has a personal gain, which a lot of people misread in this community for some reason.
Yeah.
Everybody has a personal gain. I.e., we're casters, we're freelance show hosts, casters, broadcasters. We have our own game. We do this to get paid. Like, it's a job for us. Like, we're not like, when we're contracted, obviously we are signed to that person and to that company because it's a contract obligation, but it's still freelancing. So we can still work with other people. We can still do show hosts for other people, broadcast for other people.
And for ourselves.
That's what people need to understand.
Yeah. I think one thing I would put on that one, Fames, is that if you want to do a show, do a show. I think genuinely, with passion that comes into the show, someone else will watch it. Now, by the law of probability, there is going to be someone else in the world who is interested in the same thing. Yeah. And someone will watch it. It's just a question of finding that. So you need to make sure that you make it really obvious as to what its niche is. Like we've done from the get-go, we've outlined these shows that we have as our starting portfolio on B. To come out and say, these are the things that we shows want to address. We're not going to try and do a general interview show. Interview shows are done to death. Like, the best interview show in esports, in my opinion, is one that Thorin does called Reflections, where he gets people to reflect back on their entire career. Now, things like Pushing Media, for example, are effectively interview shows, and that, thankfully, that's the only one surrounding our team at the moment. However, they are extremely prevalent in every other esport. Interview shows are so boring.
It's like you said earlier, like EG as well. Theirs is explainable. They sort of have to. Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand what their concept is.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, see, when it comes out that you're announcing a podcast and it's very clearly undefined, what do you aim to do?
Nick,
what do you aim to gain out of a very unclearly defined podcast?
That's what I mean. EG, then, regardless, they're going to get viewers. That's the point. Do you know what
because
I mean?
They're EG.
It's EG, and they've done that work to get to where they are. So fair play. Like,
then again, your viewer retention is determined by the quality of the podcast, and if you can't retain those viewers, then there's no point in running it.
It depends the way they're going to run it. Essentially,
yeah.
I sort of know because I spoke to Randu, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to release it. So I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, just in case, but
yeah.
But anyway, that's our takes on podcasts. We don't want to be sticking around too long in this one, but it was something that did come up. So by any means, if you guys are in Twitch chat now, we'll read through Twitch chat at the end of the show, and we'll go through over some points and questions. So if you want to ask anything, make sure to put it in Twitch chat.
Quick fire questions though, just drop them in and we'll answer them.
We'll answer them as we go along. Next thing I wanted to talk about, a little bit of news that came out of the scene the other day. I don't know if any of you guys saw this particularly, but there was something that came out of martial punishment in EAL with Kodara. This is something that me and Connor aren't really too at liberty to talk about, considering as we've got a few discussions at hand with EAL. But as far as I'm aware, the project is kind of falling apart at the moment. Kodara did, however, make a really big statement about it, which I really appreciate him doing, actually. It is far more than what a lot of other esports orgs and owners will actually end up doing.
Like, Yeah, because he actually came out and publicly acknowledged and said sorry to us as casters. Because I think we can talk. I think, long story short, the way to describe it would be that
I mean,
EAL,
yeah,
everybody knows what it was. It was going to be obviously just another tier.
it's the
Everybody
league, yeah.
running just another league, etc. That was unconfirmed. Basically, it was me, Buffers, and Brody Infinity to be the casters. Contracts were signed, of course. Then it came out that they need to change the dates because of 2K to Minnesota, etc. And we said that's fine. We'll just literally re-change the date on the contract, re-sign. We're good to go from there. After that, after they said that, I think for about 2 weeks, me, George, and Brody individually was pressing on for the dates. As I said earlier, we are freelance casters. We do this for work and for payment because we enjoy it, and obviously it's a job. So we're always going to pursue a job. So we was pushing on to them for about 2 weeks, blah blah blah. And then the other owners were saying, like, basically it's up to Kadora. And Kadora at this point, he was a bit AFK. He had some personal stuff going on with him,
Which
I
we
know he said.
completely respect and anticipate. And I actually, one thing I just want to quickly interject.
Yeah.
If you have personal stuff going on, you've got people riding on you, and you don't reply for a while, it is important to at least acknowledge that that is a problem. And he has done so. I mean, I'll read out his little thread that he posted.
He even told us in separate as well, like that, I'm dealing with personal stuff, and we said that's completely fine. Just get back to us when you can. But it just became a little bit that he didn't ever get back to us. And still, it's understandable if something in his life that big is happening. Fair enough.
Yeah, sometimes you can't allow this kind of thing to get in the way.
But then it all just folded because of that, which is a shame.
I don't think it's folded indefinitely just yet. I think there's definitely ways to rehash it, but I think it's going to take some time. And I don't think it's going to come back in the same vein that it has right now. I know that he's still got the money for it, but he put out a tweet string saying, "Sorry to everyone I'm in talks with about anything for being so absent this year. I'm not in a great place mentally, and honestly just think I need a break from it. I still want to grind with martial punishment and EAL, etc., but I just need to step back a notch. I'm going to have a month to myself. Only doing a little background maintenance to martial punishment to make sure that we're not just going to fall off. There's a huge revamp coming to martial punishment, so I'll be working on that. I also want to throw an apology over to the casters, us, and I'll shoot an overview of the situation. With EAL today, if anyone needs anything urgent with me regarding martial punishment or EAL, please feel free to ask my phone number or my Snapchat, as I will be active on those. I truly miss watching the guys compete and seeing martial punishment on the EEG streams and the like, but I still want to sort my personal life out and just get myself in a better headspace so I can maximise my productivity over the year. There will be huge things coming soon, mark my words on that note. I'll be looking into new management structure for martial punishment, more to come soon. Sorry again for any inconveniences caused. Thought I'd be able to just talk through it this time as I normally do, but I was wrong. It'll be back. Tank through it. I'll just be back in the second I've cleared my head, which I appreciate the fact that he's put that out as a tweet. Doesn't have to go into detail about it, which I appreciate. There's a lot of org owners and tournament owners who haven't us before, fallen through in the past. So with EAL, I'm assuming that what's likely to happen is that everybody concerned with it is going to be taking a little bit of a break from it and coming back later on, much in the same way that Val did last season. And then they'll be coming back to Horizon. I don't think this is something Dara's getting on. This is just purely speculative as well, by the way.
We actually don't know.
We actually don't know. We are in the dark as much as you guys are. But in much the same vein, it's pretty good in a sense. Because it now means that I was concerned at the start of the season we were going to have a massive oversaturation of COD to commentate. We had Val, we had EAL, we had ELC,
the Bad Habits tournament,
and stuff like that. So there was already 5 things that were going to January. And now like 3 of them aren't going ahead, which I don't mind. I'm pretty okay with that. That I have less. I don't have to come up and down the M42.
Well. That's when Pushing Media. I was still doing Pushing Media, and regardless, any other
we were going to be doing Beyond the Call as well.
Jobs that we ever got, we had Beyond the Call starting. So
December was probably the busy month. December was probably the busy month for us because I did Belong and Malta and a bunch of other stuff in that month.
I just done loads of Pushing Media and then Malta.
Yeah, and I think April's going to be a similarly busy for us as well. But on this situation, I do want to quickly have a little bit of a preach. Because this is something that I see happening a lot in esports. I think esports, in a sense, and gaming in this culture that we operate in, is a really toxic place towards mental health because there is such disregard from people towards each other's mental health on Twitter. And genuinely, like, if you are going to rag on someone for not fulfilling their promises, shit that's gone on in their personal life, fuck you, sincerely, and you're an awful person. As Connor would say, suck your mom. And I appreciate the fact that Kodara's come out and said this, because honestly, there's people who've been left in the dark about it. Now, it's understandable that you get from stuff and then come back in later time.
Yeah.
That's okay. But genuinely, take a break. You need to look at it. People who are like online phenomenons, even PewDiePie is currently taking a break away from making content for a while, simply because it is so exhausting and it does take a toll on your mental health. Now, please, if this is you, I know that Nick is one person in the chat who's very, very susceptible to this kind of thing. Overworks himself, throws himself into too many projects, hot off asses every single one of them, and needs to whole ass one of them, and he'll be in a much better place. It's like mental health is so important in this, so taxing and training. It's a 24/7 industry, and you need to take time for yourself. So please try and balance stuff. Please be at least considerate to people in much the same way that Kodara has shown here. This is realistically one of the biggest problems in this goes, because a lot of people have to come back in and back out, take some time off of Twitter, take some not. But if you want to be consistent and you want to do as best you can, you need to manage this and take some cues from Kodara.
Yar.
That's all I'd say on that one. Right, what else have we got to talk about? I'm alt-tabbing on stream.
I'm just gonna start with this one. No identity with managers leaving.
Okay.
Because no ID is always a great topic.
This one's going to be a bit of a spicy one, and I don't want to completely lambast in Joseph on this one because we're going to play Leeds game anyway, so I don't want to kind of rinse into someone already before I've even spoken to them properly. But yes, Connor, you can run this one because you were the one who got in contact about it, so take it away.
I'll just get the DM up as well. Right. I mean, it's not public knowledge because he said it's about 20 people. He said so. So basically,
I'll just prefix this by saying one thing: is that obviously some of you guys might remember a while ago there was an issue with no identity where a bunch of people left in the same day, and that's when Joseph went on the Pushing Media podcast to talk about it. I think that's the same time, right?
Yeah,
and then similarly, there's been a second wave of this happening, and we're just looking at the systemic issue. So after you go.
Yeah, so I think it was one of his directors that left. So I basically DM'd him to ask why. We was going to try and put Joe back on the No Identity, back on the Pushing Media podcast, but there's just not a point because he's already been there and like it's already been done. Basically, this is from his words. I'm not going to disclaim his name in case he doesn't want me to, of course. So basically, one example, we disagreed with him, me, and the directors about one FIFA player. He wanted £20 a month. He wasn't even verified and did not have a big following, like 20 followers or so. And he started having a go at us and asking us to leave because we disagreed with him to not pick him up. It's not on, and it's not the first time we've gave him plenty of chances. Me and 4 others in under management left in the same day. Overall, the CEO is a childish person who does not know what he's doing. Well, not really. The gist was the CEO is power hungry and is really unexperienced within business, and everyone got pissed off with him. Doesn't appreciate the rule, doing this for free and the love of our hearts. We gave him 3 chances, and I'm not working with someone like that who is toxic and has no knowledge of the business at all. Now, that's not my words, in case you just tuned in.
Don't sound like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say stuff like that. I'd go a lot more harsher.
Connor just doesn't hold back. He's such an aggressive cunt like that.
Now I've left Future, I'm just so aggressive. So I've got nothing to protect anymore, so I just can. I'm a free-spirited man like yourself now. Yeah, so I don't know, like, I've never sat down with him and had a conversation off camera.
I would very much like to, actually.
I don't think I ever will. I don't think he likes me because he thinks I don't like him. I've not got an issue with him. I just think the way he runs stuff is like a bit wary.
I think this is the same thing that I have with Nick at times, is that I think the way that Nick runs his projects with having so many of them and juggling them is absolutely... I just come out and say it, like, the whole thing is just absolutely manic.
Yeah, I mean, I find myself in DMs. I
don't know how you can manage it. Like, I would just be sweating bullets constantly. I would literally be pissing out of like my ears because I'd just be like so drained. It's like, what do I do? How do I run EG? How do I run Pushing Media? How do I run Retribute? How do I run everything else? I'd just be crying myself to sleep every night. So props to him for doing it, but it clearly takes his toll on him at times. And one thing I would say about this is in much the same way, I don't mind Joseph as a person. In much the same way, I don't mind Nick as a person. I actually quite like Nick. I think he's a funny guy. But in the same way, I don't mind Joseph. But I think what he's doing at No Identity is a little bit all over the place. I think he's really trying to force a niche with that clothing thing, which admittedly is cool. You go for that, right? You are trying to find your niche with what sets you apart and what makes you unique. much in the same way that we're talking about how you do the same podcast earlier on. But
Yeah,
asterisk to that, when you don't know what you're doing, really does shows.
100%. Is your stream gone off?
No, it's fine.
Oh, mine's just buffering.
Yeah, mine buffered for a second, I think.
Yeah, like it is that. Like he is trying to find what he wants to do, and that's fair enough. But there's certain ways about going about. I don't know, because he has said himself, he struggles to word things sometimes. But the fact this has happened twice now, you have to think like behind
It's starting
closed
to become
doors.
less of a one-off and more of a theme, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like it's just occurring now, and it's just like, well, is this actually just you as a person now, or you're just coming off the wrong way again? Because okay, first time you can say, yeah, all right, like
Maybe I
I
came on a
said it the
little
wrong way. I
strong.
shouldn't have said that. My bad. I apologize. But now you've done it again. Like you have to think. Come on, are you just doing this on purpose, or are you just wording stuff stupidly on purpose now to sort of piss people off? Like even the whole clothing thing as well. Like he's just started esports. I wouldn't go into clothing straight away. Personally, like I actually want to touch upon that as well because there's a lot of people that are trying to do clothing now within esports.
I think it's a trend set by 100 Thieves, for sure.
But everybody thinks they are 100 Thieves and they're not. Like, fair enough, if you want to make jerseys are acceptable because you need them for lands, etc., and photos, blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking like, if you are making apparel, like esports apparel for your company or organization, so like sticking a future logo on top, like I'm accustomed to it as well. I've done it. Like I put future on a full tracksuit because I'm from Birmingham, so it had to be a tracksuit. I put it on a full tracksuit, like, and I made two sales, bro. Two sales. So I put X amount in for two sales and like £3,
Pretty
£2
weak.
back, bro. Like, there's no point in doing it. Build a fat fan base, please, and then release some apparel. You're not 100 Thieves.
Currently, right now, you're making zero profit, man.
You're making minus.
I mean, there was that whole thing before, which is the reason why this thing came about the first time around, is because, quite frankly, he told people in the org to buy it.
Well, yeah, that was the first thing. He was like, "Oh, buy it, please, buy it." Yeah, Kyle, shout out to you. You did buy a future jersey, but it's washed now. Yeah, yeah, like that was the first thing. He was like, he said he worded it wrong, and that's excusable. Okay, you've
I
owned up. You
don't. The
said you
thing is,
worded
for
it
me,
wrong.
that when I saw that, I was like, "What other way can you?" No,
Well,
I
yeah,
don't.
so
I
did I.
don't think that comes down to him being a fucking knob. I don't think it works that way.
Yeah,
I think what that comes down to is just genuine and honest experience within space.
100%.
Because you see this a lot. Obviously, at the moment, esports is growing massive. Yeah, a lot of venture capitalists coming into space with, especially with these franchise leagues like Call of Duty, Overwatch, League of Legends, etc. And you see a distinct misunderstanding of how people try and interpret the scene. The scene of esports, the industry, is very unlike any other professional competitive industry. Not like the sports industry. It's not like any major broadcasting. There are lots of things within esports, very niche, very different, and that the people who absorb the content and who watch it and who are part of the space don't enjoy about other industries. And I think
Yeah,
there is a bit of a problem there with kind of understanding exactly what your target audience is, exactly who you're working with. I think for me,
like,
what would have made me a better owner is if I'd have done casting before I owned. It gave me some insight. And I think maybe even I
we're in the
played
same
before
boat
I
on
owned.
that.
I played before I owned,
I
so
didn't
I
know.
had
Oh,
experience
shit.
within the scene. So as long as you're indoctrinated within the space sometime before you go into wargaming, as far as I'm aware, I don't know anything about Joe. But as far as I'm aware, he came straight into wargaming with nothing
Yeah,
else.
that's what I mean. Like, there's no experience behind him, I don't think, or nothing, or if all going in.
I
So,
don't think
like,
he's worked for any other org either. He's on a startup by.
I think he's worked for one maybe, but it wasn't like owning or nothing important. So like even to just jump straight into it, it's not a thing you jump into. Like you have to have experience, and that's a bit biased and hypocritical coming from me because I jumped right into it, but I had the right people around me to jump into it too because I had the knowledge there as well. I had the people to talk to, I had the connections to talk to. So like even myself, I fucked up from time to time. Do you know what I mean? Everybody does like when tweeting or making a move, dropping people, picking people up, the way you go about stuff. Like everybody gets it wrong, but now doing it twice over in the same sort of
But then like
in the,
a 2 months.
in the yeah in the same rhythm as well. Like you saying stuff and arguing and saying stuff wrong, for example, you can't get that wrong twice.
It is a little bit egregious at times, and I do think that there's like clearly some kind of problem within No Identity as a culture. I don't know if it's because
Yeah,
there's such a focus on the clothing drops, which by the way aren't even bad. I actually reasonably like some of them. I wouldn't fork out the money for it because, quite frankly, I just don't have the money because I'm a uni student. But
As you can tell from his little prison room.
yeah, exactly. I'm a 4x4 cell right here. I only get let out for like a couple of hours of air.
Oh, he worked for University in 9K Esports to the Nine Kings.
What did, sorry? Clothing.
Joseph.
Oh, did he? Oh yeah, he did work for University briefly.
But what did
That
he do
that
though?
didn't
What did he
last very
do?
long with University. I don't know what he did with
Oh,
9K. They've been gone for a while. But even still, like I'm very confused. Really, it comes across. I mean, even the guy who obviously speaking to you about him identity is was basically saying that it comes down to the lack of experience. I wouldn't
and he called
necessarily.
him.
I would. Yeah, I was about to say. I wouldn't necessarily say. I'd say he's power hungry.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. He called him power
How
hungry.
can you be power hungry when you already have all the power?
But even you can't be power hungry when you have like not to shit talk it or be horrible, but
You
it's
own the
nothing yet.
company.
But it's nothing yet anyway. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So he can't be power hungry when his org is just starting. He makes no profit from it. Like he's doing this
barely.
right now to get big. If anything, he's at well, most orgs right now, probably no, all orgs right now are at a minus, and that's a fact.
They should
Whatever,
be as well. They
yeah, whatever
should
org
be.
wants to tell me different is doing something either stupidly wrong or they just don't know how to run an org.
The thing is, when you're setting up an org, in the first, probably I'd even go as far as to say like 5, you're going to expect barely any
Oh,
return on investment.
100%.
You're going to have to put money in, and you have to going to expect to not get it out. And this is the concern with esports overall. There's a great article by Celia D'Anastasia or something like that. Richard Lewis has spoken about it numerous times and spoke about it in his acceptance esports. Um, there is a really big problem at the moment with people just throwing money at esports and expecting stuff back. And what happens in 5 years' time when there's no return on investment and venture capitalists decide that this industry is a dead weight, and then all the money is just sucked out and back to where we were in 2008? Like this is exactly where we could be winding up. So if you are going into making an esports venture, whether that be an organization that you're going to invest money in, you should not be expecting money back instantly. In fact, probably within a year, 2 years, 3 years. You can make individual gains. That money should realistically be going back into the org, not into your pocket. You don't have to reinvest. So the difficulty there is that people like Joseph, for example, might be trying to do these drops to swindle a quick profit, and therefore your whole ethos and conception of what your org's based on is wrong. And it's a money pit. You're going to throw money at it, you're going to throw money at it, and it might not work, as is every business venture. Sports is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
I mean, Nick's just gave me a bit of information
Yeah.
on how Joseph was in 9K.
Okay.
I'm just taking the best bits to talk about because I don't want to release all of this because it's not the best. Somebody has basically said to someone here, I know this is back then 9K, so it's a bit irrelevant to bring that bit up. So
Ancient news, yeah.
Yeah, the one bit he put was treated every member like poo. Wouldn't let a streamer have a day off like they're obliged to do so. And then he put obviously to Twitter org, you're a wet wipe.
This is the thing as well. Twitter org is exactly what it is. It's a bedroom org being run by someone out of their bedroom. They haven't got it registered as a limited company. They haven't got it registered with any contracts or anything, management in check or keeping players and streamers in check. If they have got any contracts, they're probably egregious as fuck and need to be read over by a lawyer or someone quickly, because they are going to be locked into bang them out probably for a year or however long the length of the contract is. This is the difference between mainstream orgs, semi-pro orgs, these Twitter bedroom orgs. I would guarantee you now, I would make an estimate say that 90% of the organisations on that are still existing, but not future, not void, whatever, are not registered at company's house. Not registered in company's house at all. I don't think they've ever been registered. They don't have any share prices. They don't have any like distribution of share ownership. They don't have anything that registers them as a company. Yet they're still making money or like expecting to make money, or investing and selling in effect shares by saying, "Come on, as an owner, we'll do a 50% share stake." Yeah, but how much is your share? How much is your share worth?
Yeah, literally. Like, I think that is one of the reasons why I just bin Future off as well. Like, if you look back at how much you put in it and how everybody is competing for the same thing, and no one's made it. Like, Singularity,
The closest ones to make it were Radiant and Singularity. And Bulldog to an extent, but even they've realised that there's only so far that they can go now.
Like even the episode of them with Newton pushing me the other week, like he explained everything like as to why it should not be in esports. Like it needs to go to entertainment because he sees the difference in it. Esports is dead, and everybody that is trying to get into esports is like
esports right now is going to be live and die by how much investment capital you get, and you have to rely on independent venture capitalist investors or huge pitches people who have a lot of money, unless you're the person with a lot of money. I mean, even look at 100 Thieves. They're backed by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Drake, all these kind of people. They're a
You know what I
startup
mean?
who comes in fast and does that. That shit has probably been worked on for months behind the scenes before anything.
Yeah,
Now, you can't start up a Twitter org like No Identity, for example, immediately pitch it to like Arsenal Football Club. They're not going to give a fuck. They're just not even going to. They can barely transfer budget
yeah.
their players correctly. So how are they going to be able to do it? And they'll see it in much the same way as a lot of venture capitalists. Get rich quick scheme, growing industry. There's lots of money being thrown into it. Might as well happen. Let's be realistic about it. Your esports org is so limited in where it can go. Tournament organisers, on the other hand, I will say, tournament organisers are very necessary. Amateur esports orgs, there is a place for them. I think they are great. I think all the power to you if you want to go and own an org, right? I think what a lot of these org owners should really consider is either one massive merger where they put all their money together and then sort out shares, or what they should do is go and try and work for bigger organisations in managerial. I mean, look at Kurt, for example, Air Rocks to Singularity.
This was the debate the other day on Twitter. I think somebody said, let's just merge University, Socially, Buzzkill, and someone else.
Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. Someone else is in there. And I think it was Connor O'Boyle, the owner of Buzzkill, put his pence in and he said, if you guys obviously want to do that, I have no issue with you guys merging under to Buzzkill. And I think Pete Canny said something. Oh, it was Peak, sorry. And Pete Canny said something like he made a mad name combining all the orgs, which was pretty dope, to be honest. It was pretty sick, but it just obviously it can't work. And then obviously I replied to it, which no one replied back to me. So I'm guessing nobody wanted the Connor's argument. But I put in and I said, but you need to understand as well, it's great merging yourself together for a better and a brighter future, but your orgs is what makes this scene goes round.
Why have I got all fuzzy?
I'm about to say that. Like these orgs are what makes the scene go round. You know what I mean? Like without them, if they all merge, there's no friendly competition. There's nobody.
This is the thing. There's also literally zero aspiration for any of these. They all want to be like the next. They want to be.
Well, that's what I mean. And then how do you have that conversation of who's dropping the minus 10% of ownership, who's dropping 20, who's picking up 20,
and then
who's putting this much in this year,
who's sacrificing their brand for a massive move? Like which brands are going to go out? Exactly. Or are they going to make a new one together?
And even now, from a caster's perspective, if I look at it, I'm looking at it as it then takes away the orgs in the scene to cast. So instead of having like in the Varsity verse Socially and next, you're gonna have Vision and Co versus CD and Co. Just two guys I can think off my head. That's how you're just gonna have to cast, and it's not gonna be enjoyable because their team name is gonna be stupid. I.e., Varma and the gang. It's not an org, but it's just what they call themselves, and they're stuck with it since Black Ops 4. But it's just what they go with now, and it's like if there was no orgs around and you're merged, we're not gonna have that anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get that, and I completely agree. In the same sense, it's a bit of a risky situation. For the scene holistically, I think it's way better to have numerous. For the scene, the organisations as a whole, they should really just about putting their resources together. And someone puts in chat here, power. Someone would put in so much more than the other, and then someone would put in less. Well, that's the reason why shareholders exist. Someone's able to put in less and they buy their shares. Someone's able to put in more, they put in more shares, and therefore, because they're putting in more, they get more say in what happens.
That convo would just never go down well though, because it's like if say me and you were to merge Void and Future, I'm putting in say $2,000 a year, no $2,000 a month, and you're putting $5,000 a month. How do you then have that combo to be like, okay, well, you carry on putting your $2,000 in, we'll be 50-50, but I'll put my $5,000 in.
Yeah, you immediately got.
You're putting in more at the same weight as me, at the same status as me. It just doesn't run.
And without realizing that, you give yourself a problem.
Already. Yeah, I don't think it will ever run. Everybody should just stay how they are.
I think there's an argument for both.
There's pros and cons definitely for both, but I think more pros weigh out the cons more in the individual orgs instead of the merge.
And the last thing we'll talk about, I suppose, because I've got it on the list, but I don't really want to talk about it too hard, is Orbit briefly, just because they've made their return a couple of weeks ago. Orbit have come back, the former organisation that used to be part of the Call of Duty scene, mostly in Europe, did have a few problems with Red Reserve. Obviously, they bought them out originally, and we all know how that one ended with owing players a shit ton of money. And they have come back, obviously saying that they have none of the Red Reserve management. Even though I haven't, admittedly, I am I'm uninformed. Because Davey did send me a link to a show that Patrick Anderson did, former owner of Red Reserve, that I haven't watched, admittedly. But that probably does explain some of this. However, they made a statement saying they have no former Red Reserve owners or no former Red Reserve management, but Davey is one of them. So already, I don't know how I feel about this organisation coming back. There is a lot of speculation and hate from the scene about it. I just wanted to brush it over really and just give a passing comment on it, because I really do think hold out judgment on how this one goes, just in case we can see if it's a change thing. Obviously, denial, for example, is like a poison chalice. Whoever touches that is going to get fucked, much in the same way that Robbie Ringalda did, and then the money matches people over it, they got tagged. So I won't. I have it on the list for something to talk about, but I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not up to date with it anyway. Like I've never really, I didn't really follow the whole Red Reserve ending thing. All I know is that owed whoever and co X amount of money, obviously, and then they just died out, and everyone just absolutely ripped them. The whole Orbit
Oh,
thing.
the ESPU money as well, as far as I'm aware. ESPU were associated with them, so I'm not sure that's any kind of money.
Yeah, like that. Nah, they owe the players money, didn't they?
They owe Scraps and Co.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They owed Scraps and Co X amount of money, and obviously they was with ESPU as well. So
I think it's 6 figures.
Yeah, it was a lot, but still, like 6 figures, even 6 figures. It's like Jesus, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're missing out on 6 figures, and
I think I don't know if that's a cumulative anyway, but like imagine in our scene, people get pissed if they're missing £20. Like, could you imagine if some of these amateur players got locked up into a contract where they're missing 150 grand?
Casting for like 2 days after, I'm like, I'm the whole.
Where's my money?
Where's my money?
We've got 30-day late payment fees in our contract as well, and even still.
Oh, bro. Yeah. 100%. You have to though, and that's not a dig at like.
This is the thing that we were saying earlier about the way with the contracts. You have to protect yourself when it comes to organisations and contracts.
A lot of people don't. I've read some stupid contracts in my time. I've read some
chronic.
Like even just, I think I'm not going to disclose the org, but I'll disclose the name. Penguin, my good friend, sent me. He was basically going to play for an org, and they sent me their contract to him, and he said, "Can you read this over?" I said, "Yeah, of course." You know, all right, yeah. Read it over, and I was like, "Bro, do not sign that shit."
No way out of it.
In their contract, it was, if you don't place top 16 and more at the LAN, we want all the money back. That shit is not how it works.
Why would you pick up like that? The volatile nature of the each. Like when you think volatile, they're not going to have guaranteed. Mind blowing. And there are genuinely people out there who think like this. There are genuinely people out there who actually want to act like this. So my only parting gift to you guys, in that sense, would be watch what you sign, watch what you read, and genuinely, if you're not happy about something, a fucking lawyer. A lawyer will read over a contract for you for like £100. That £100 could save you thousands of pounds down the line.
Literally. Or if you want, send me and Buff 20 and we'll do it for you.
Admittedly, I'm not a licensed attorney and neither is Connor, but we'll have a look at it at least and say, you know what, this is garbage. Like, we can tell you in an amateur sense if this contract's going to be garbage or not. I mean, I myself have signed contracts which are absolutely.
Flames just gave us some stuff.
Bellamy left Orbit because of the red people. Owner, he sold his share. He used them while gaming. Okay, not bothered. So is he now the current owner of Reserve? Of Orbit, which is fine. I understand if.
Well, I mean, best of luck to Orbit. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what I'm saying is we should really reserve judgment on what they're going to do before they actually do anything. All they've done so far is announce they're coming back into this. They've reopened their door. Realistically, what we need to wait on is obviously knowing who the management are, who owns the shares, and more importantly, what they do with players and stuff. Because, admittedly, Denial, when they came back, paid off the debts of the previous owner, and then did the same thing. So there's still room to work with here. So we'll reserve judgment for now, exactly how it goes. But for Orbit and that topic is just something I wanted to gloss over quickly and not really speak too much on as it goes. But, of course, we're at a pretty natural end to the show here. We've been live for about 54 minutes, so I'll wrap it up here and then we'll get the VOD uploaded.
Oh, one thing that we aren't doing today, but we will start doing it as of the next episode. Understand, guys, these episodes are going to come out when there's controversial topics to talk upon, obviously. If nothing happens in the scene, then me and George aren't going to be here doing the Brummie Boys, unless we have a guest or someone that wants to discuss something, or we've got a grind to pick with someone or whatever. If someone's done something stupid and they want to be grilled by us, then fair enough, then they can come on. But a thing we are going to start doing is a little segment towards the end of this show. It's going to be stupidest tweets of the week, of the month, or whatever, where we're just going to find stupid tweets from people.
Hot takes on esports.
Yeah, like people just do stupid tweets, so it's gonna like basically put them on screen and just not essentially rip them, but just
Discuss it at least.
Why? Do you know what I mean?
Why is that stupid?
Yeah, like why? So that will be coming as well, but obviously.
And of course, if you guys see any stupid tweets within a week or so, make sure to send them to me and Connor. We'll take a look at them and then think, yeah, that probably is talk about.
Yeah, 100%. Just send it to me or George.
Either one of us, or even to the Beyond the Call account. Probably better. We both have access. Should be no problem. So anyway, that's going to conclude the first episode of the Brummie Boys. Carl says he's going to intentionally tweet some stupid things, but that's no problem. Of course, you know where to find us. Our ats are on the screen, and then of course we've got Beyond the Call in the bio if you can't find the at using @BTC_cod. But that's all for now. That's the first piece of content out for the Brummie Boys, and we'll be doing much more to come. So as soon as the controversial topic throws on itself up, or we've got
we will be on it.
We've got a pretty busy news week to discuss. If anything happens at Minnesota, for example, it is a little bit controversial for like Addy scandals or people getting into fights and stuff. We'll talk about it. We'll get them on, and we'll make sure to give you guys the best take on it that we can. So we appreciate you guys tuning in for the first episode of the Brummie Boys show. Good times all round, and now I'm going to go queue on some League of Legends. Loving it. Right, thank you very much for watching, boys. And as always, just to think actually. We are going to have a Beyond the Call show coming out just before Minnesota. So at some point later on this week, we will have a Beyond the Call show for you guys live on Twitch. So keep an eye on what's going on Twitter. Keep an eye on the Twitch. Make sure to follow so you don't miss when we go live next. Any parting words, Connor?
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.